becoming tropical. Remember every A-flat. No, 1914. Yeah, we got 7. So, yeah, drum intro. This is just all the way through. Yeah, just straight to 2/4. Here we go. Yep. slave burn or old chums? Slave burn, I think. Slave burn. Right, so slave burn, yep, this will be perfect timing. 4 minutes to play slave burn. And then we've got a good rest. Now, as written, please. Yeah, as written. Do the DC, and then we finish. When we DC, we do the second time bar. All right? We do right. When we DC, we do the second time bar, and then we finish. Ready? Sorry, idiot. Ready? One. right, the bread's coming through. George, got the album procession that comes through, yeah? Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Derek Kennedy. I am the Mayor of Hexham. First of all, I'm going to read a short poem by Wilfred Wilson Gibson. He lived in Hexham, born in Hexham in 1878 and died in 1962. He was on the front line and he wrote this poem, Comrades. As I was marching in Flanders, a ghost kept step with me and chuckled and muttered ceaselessly. Once I too marched in Flanders, the very spit of you, and just 100 years since, the fall at Waterloo. They buried me in Flanders, upon the field of blood, and long I've lain forgotten, deep in the Flemish mud. But now you march in Flanders, the very spit of me. To the ending of the day's march, I will bear your company. And I think that's quite an interesting poem because obviously he's talking about the repeat of war, you know, the complete repeat of war, how the British Army had fought the French at Waterloo. And 100 years later, the British were fighting the Germans in that same area. I've had the pleasure in the last couple of years to visit our town twins of Noyon in Picardy in France, and also Metzingen in Schwab in Germany. And we struck up quite a good friendship with my colleagues, the mayors of those two towns, and they've sent some words to send to all of us. So this is some words from Carmen Haberstraw, who is the Obergutenführer of Metzingen. And she says, not only are wars, but all kinds of nationalism, populism and aggression on the world political stage are a great danger to peaceful coexistence in friendship and freedom. Let us use Remembrance Day to remember the terrible events of the past, as well as the many victims of the war in our time, and stand up for peace today and in the future together. Today in Metzingen, we jointly commemorate with you. We feel connected to you and send very friendly greetings to Hexham on this special day. Similarly, I have words from the Mayor of Noyon, Picardy, France. Noyon was on the front line in 1914. It was invaded several times by Germany. And I've actually been to that town. It has a cathedral larger than Hexham Abbey, but it's still pockmarked from the battle scars, from the shrapnel, from the bullets, and it leaves a lasting memory of that conflict in that town. And Sandrine Duchel, the mayor, has sent these words. This is an opportunity to say that our partnership is also a strong sign of the values we defend. It reflects our deep attachment to peace. More than 100 years after, with major conflicts at the gates of Europe, I would say with a certain gravity that we measure how much freedom, peace, and democracy are invaluable goods. Georges Clemenceau, the great French politician, declared in 1919, "It is easier to declare war than making peace." Peace is the only battle that should be led, also said Albert Camus, the Nobel Prize in Literature. In such an unstoppable world, an unstable world, I would like to remind that friendship between Hexham and Noyon and the share of common values are absolute necessities more than ever. Thank you.
Turning to our service sheets. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. What does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God? We gather to remember with thanksgiving and sorrow those who died in wars and conflicts past and present. We commit ourselves to work in penitence and faith for all who in bereavement, disability and pain continue to suffer the consequences of fighting and terror. We commit ourselves for reconciliation between the nations, that all people may live in freedom, justice and peace. And so we sing the hymn, O God, our help in ages past. They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn.
At the going down of the sun, in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Great! Great! Gent!
when you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today.
You will see on the memorial there are many hundreds of names of people who lived in Hexham and the surrounding areas. Tom Galanders, former mayor of Hexham, did a huge amount of work in finding out some short biographies of each of the persons listed on this memorial. And I'm going to read some of those short biographies just to bring home what it meant to those who resided in and around Hexham. Private John William Wilkinson, known as John Willie, served in the Northumberland Fusiliers. He was killed in action 8th of October 1918, aged 22, in France on the front line. He is buried in France. His youngest brother, Norman, was serving during the Second World War in the Merchant Navy. He was part of a convoy sailing from Swansea to Newfoundland. His ship was torpedoed 25th of August 1942. He was 33 years of age. Lance Corporal Kathleen Anderson died on the 18th of December 1924. She was a private with the Auxiliary Territorial Service. Sergeant Harry Barton Annan. He volunteered for the RAF in September 1942. He's serving as a sergeant pilot with the RAF when he lost his life while flying duty on the 10th of January 1944, aged 21 years. He is buried in Hexham Cemetery. Gunner James Brotherton. He was part of the Royal Artillery. He died on the 3rd of March 1943, aged 28 years old. Bombardier George William Lindsay Clark, part of the Heavy Anti-Aircraft Regiment of the Royal Artillery. He died 26th of February 1947, aged 34, and is buried in Hexham Cemetery. Sergeant Ronald Clark, member of the Royal Northumberland Fusiliers. He was mobilised to France in January 1940 and was evacuated as part of Dunkirk in June 1940. He was in North Africa and he was trapped as a battle raged. He died on the 6th of June 1942, aged 24 years. Sapper Robert Edward Crozier. Joined the Corps of Royal Engineers. Robbie was involved in an accident and died on the 31st of August 1947 and is buried in Hanover War Cemetery. Fusilier John William Douglas Dryden. was serving in the Royal Northumberland Fusiliers when he died in Gilesgate, Hexham on the 27th of June 1944, aged 54. He is buried in Hexham Cemetery. Private J. Dryden of the Royal RNF, Royal Navy. There is no record of J. Dryden, but he is recorded here on the memorial. Private E.M. Dixon of the Risi Regiment. Again, no record, but he is recorded on the Roll of Honour published by that regiment. Fusilier John William Dodd joined the Royal Northumberland Fusiliers with his two brothers and was mobilised to France in January 1940. He served in France with the British Expeditionary Force and was evacuated via Dunkirk. He died 29th of January 1942. WO2 David Forster was part of the Royal Northumberland Fusiliers and was posted to North Africa in April 1941. He was shot while trying to escape from an Italian prisoner of war camp and died of his wounds on the 22nd of July 1942, aged 29 years. He is buried in Tripoli War Cemetery. In March 1944, it was announced that he had been posthumously mentioned in the dispatches for gallant and distinguished conduct. Sergeant Henry Basil Harrison served in the RAF as a sergeant pilot when he died as a result of an accident 13th of April 1943, aged 22. He is buried in Hexham Cemetery. Major Kingsley Walworth David Hodgson. He was a member of he was a commanding officer of the Hexham detachment of the Northumberland Home Guard. He was demonstrating laying a mine on the 16th of January 1944 when he was struck by shrapnel from the explosion. He died of his injuries 29th of January 1944, aged 38 years. Private Reginald John Charles Jones, serving as a private in the Royal Army Ordnance Corps when he died in Catterick Military Hospital following an accident on the 4th of May 1945, aged 27 years. He is buried in Hexham Cemetery. Lance Corporal J. Kennedy, John Kennedy. He was part of the Border Regiment and died on the 7th of April 1945, aged 32 years. Gunner Robert Maguire was serving as a gunner with the Royal Artillery when he died 26th of July 1941, and he is buried in Newcastle Cemetery. Gunner William Metcalf. He was deployed with British troops to Greece and the Canadian Corps. Billy was severely wounded in the action and died of his injuries on the 18th of April 1945, aged 22. Private James Watson Moulding enlisted in 1940 and was serving as a private in the Tyneside Scottish Black Watch Royal Highlanders. He was sent to France in April 1940. James died in May 1940, aged 22, following the invasion of northern France by Germany. Trooper Sidney Mignard, member of the Royal Armed Corps. He developed an illness and was admitted to Hexham Emergency Hospital, but died a few days later, aged 19, on the 3rd of December 1945. He is buried in Hexham Cemetery.
If it is your tradition, I warmly invite you to join with me in saying together the prayer Jesus taught us to pray, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. God grant the living grace, to the departed rest, to people of all faiths and no faith, unity, peace, and concord, and to us and all God's servants, life everlasting. Amen.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. Right. Okay. Thank you all. See you all on Tuesday. Right. So Tuesday, we're going to run most of the program is Saturday. All right. So Saturday obviously is a bridge, and we think it's 7 o'clock, but I will confirm. Right. It is 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Right. Well done.